Okay, we are live.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new edition of the Town Hall. This is a special edition today. We're doing something a bit different. We're going to focus on more technical issues, and really we're interested in how the community is building and what are some of the new hottest projects on our in our ecosystem right now. We have an exciting program for you today. We'll hear from T54 about agentic workflows with X402. We'll hear from RippleX with some new tools around agentic flows again, which is a very hot topic at the moment. And we'll hear from former Aquarium resident Deep Gun on some of the projects that he's been working on. And when we're done with that, XRPL Commons, Tushar, XRPL Commons is Tushar, will present some new tools that we've been using internally that we wanted to share with you, and an update to the learning platform. But before we kick off, I wanted to share a couple of things that happened this week. We kicked off a new initiative called Make Waves. And we've been overwhelmed, super exciting to see all the new builders come to this program. We already have, I think it's over 130 applications were approved, 110 projects are in the pipeline. This is a summer-long program. You can think of it as a summer hackathon, which started on June 21st and it's going to go all the way to September 21st. You have a link here to sign up and check it out, but it uses our brand new revamped hackathon platform, where you have all the communication tools, all the details, all the information in there, and all the prizes. There's 50,000 XRP in total prizes for this program. So we're very excited to see all the builders. We actually met a number of builders because we ran Monday and Tuesday a online dev training, which was the first online version of our, I would say, flagship dev training that we run. We ran this, it was exciting for several reasons. First of all, we had almost 60 participants, which was really good throughout the whole session. And this is people that actually have gone through the motions of the dev training and the different exercises and so on and so forth. And we did this all with a new application that we launched, or sort of soft launch, which is the Academy. And so we were very very happy to see sort of that in action and working well for participants. And it was really nice to engage with all of you that were there. And some of them, a number of them, but not all, were building for the summer program. So very excited to see what those projects actually bring. We'll make this content, the online dev training, available. Of course, there is still a sort of some work to do and editing some videos and all of that, but we'll make this we'll have the archive of the online dev training, and then we'll also move to a version of the program that people can take and go through at their own pace, and with access to mentors and access to other builders as well in the process. And so we're excited to show you that, but that'll be for the next technical town hall. This new format, we intend to so really focus more on the builder side, how to build and all of that. And we're trying this new format today, but we expect to be doing this about twice a year. Listen, kick off your shoes, put your feet up, get comfortable for this session. What else should I add? Anyway, we could talk about a little bit more about Make Waves, but anyway, all the information is shared on that site. You get all that information, and that does include Make Waves. You can also talk to us. We have an event every Wednesday as well, that sort of throughout the summer, where we'll discuss your projects, and we're happy to have you, and we're going to share some resources and workshops while we do that. But anyway, moving on from Make Waves, I was going to bring on stage Jofi, who is our engagement manager, and to talk about upcoming events and what's going on, what should the community be looking for in the next few weeks, months. Jofi?
Hi everyone, great to have everyone here. I hope you're listening either on X or on LinkedIn. Important to mention is that if you want to ask us something throughout this live call, then you can just type your comments on either platforms, and we will ask those questions from the speakers. So feel free to interact and comment and ask things. So regarding upcoming events and engagement in general, so as the editor of the XRPL Community Mag, I want to start with the news that the new magazine is coming along. We just started the planning. So if you want to get involved with writing an article or contributing to this magazine, we are holding a call, not a live stream, but really like an internal call together with all interested community members next Wednesday. So if you can just send me a message or DM XRPL Commons on X or on LinkedIn, I'll send you the link and you can get involved with this discussion as well. And as for meetups, the next one we are planning is going to take place in September in Spain. So Barcelona is one of our next locations, as well as another event happening in Madrid in the middle of September. So if you're a builder, entrepreneur based in Spain, we would love to hear from you, and we would love to get you involved with these events. That's all really. Let's kick it off with the speakers.
Yes, sure. So the first group entity that's represented is T54, and so I welcome you to the stage. We're very excited to have you for the first time on one of these town halls. So, Shrey, take it away.
Hi, nice to meet you and excited to be here. My name is Trey and I work with T54. I'm an engineer there. So today we're going to be telling you more about agentic finance and how T54 is working to build a stack to fix the gap which is already there. So let's get started. Before I proceed, just want to make sure if I sound good, if I sound okay to all of you. Or to the presenters. All right, I think so. Okay, so let's get started. What is agentic finance? It's quite a broad topic, but in a simplest way I can say agentic finance is in whichever way it involves agents to make transactions, borrow money, give money, make financial decisions. This comprises of agentic finance in a very simpler term. It could be of any examples, like your agents are buying for some compute services, they are managing your subscriptions, they are lending some money or they are borrowing some money, etc. And why it may can we move on? How do I change the slide? Oh, okay. So why does it matter now? So as you notice, as LLMs are, there is an evolution of LLMs going on right now. Every other day we see a new model there. But what's missing right now is a safer and a more reliable payment channel where agent can play around. They can autonomously make payments, transactions, give, borrow, take, lend money, etc. At the same time, businesses are also demanding the automation should be there. I mean, they don't want to accept the payment, or they don't want human interaction with every transactions. At the same time, micro transactions are in demand as well. So for example, if an AI agent want to make a transaction of, let's say, a $0.01, they can't do it on fiat because the processing charge would be more than the actual transaction amount, right? So that's why I think agentic finance matters now, and the autonomy of the payments, etc., also matters. Moving on. So what's missing right now? So we don't, as I said in the previous slide, every transactions right now, I mean, humans or the infra, we don't have full faith in agents right now, and that's where we have a broken architecture. We don't have a way to allow agents to make or do transactions autonomously. It involves the infrastructural gap, also the funding issues as well. I mean, there has to be a way where agents can have funding available, readily available, with such guardrails that they can proceed and make autonomous transactions. Moving on. And which brings us to our next topic, which is like how would it work on XRPL? When agents want to make autonomous transactions, they would like to have funding available to them, uh, guardrails, which could be the limits of the transactions, policies, etc. They should be allowed to make transactions in a controlled manner. And finally, there has to be a settlement channel, which is blockchain, which is XRPL. So these are the four components of agentic finance on XRP. Uh, Moving on. Now, what we are at T54 doing right now? So we know that agent can make transactions, but don't know how to. So we have this XRPL X402 facilitator, which provides agents to pay for a service over X402 protocol. It is XRPL native, which means a settlement without API keys, sprawl, or custom payout glue, and agents can freely merchants can have their own SDK implemented, and buyer can leverage those client SDKs for T54 and start making transactions and receiving money on the merchant side. At the same time, if there are funding issues, we have Clock Credit, which is one of our product which allows agents to borrow money from our services, which resolves your funding issues. And finally, how would it look like? So when agents wants to, let's say, pay for a compute service on AWS, it would use X402 to make that transaction. Let's say if there are funding issues, agent would then go to the Clock Credit to receive the funding. It should then get the funding, and the transaction will route via X402 to the merchant. And that way, and eventually the settlement occurs in XRPL. And this is how you'll make an agentic transaction autonomously. And finally, this is a very simple snippet from our SDK to how to simply make an X402 call on a secured layer. And similarly, we have on our next slide, we have a Clock Credit skill. So we made Clock Credit, which is a very skill based. You can allow Claude to have the skill or Codex to have the skill, and it'll download the SDK, and it'll play around. Your agents will be able to apply for funding or borrow some money from our Clock Credit agents. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri. Very cool technology. I was wondering, privilege of being the host, I will have the first question. I was wondering if you could share with us how your clients or a use case from one of your clients that has deployed this technology, really excited about the Clock Credit. If you have maybe an example of a client, you can help us illustrate a little bit.
Sure. So we work with this content management company, and they would want to allow agents to access their content. Plus, at the same time, they would want to receive any money on blockchain. So our X402 is currently agent native, blockchain native. So we work on Ethereum as well. And for XRPL, we have this merchants that uses or leverages our SDK, and they would make like 1 or 2 XRP per on their content. So most of our services or their clients use Clock Credit for the funding, and since merchant has to be recognized by Clock Credit so that the funding can route from agents to merchant. This content management company or the content provider company is one of the use cases that I could tell about. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, I think we can move to the next speaker. Is it Ajit or Amarantha who's going to present the new XRPL starter kit?
Yeah, I'll start off, and then Amarantha will talk about the starter kit specifically. Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi everyone. Hey everyone. My name is Ajit. I'm a product manager at Ripple, and we'll be talking about the AI starter kit. Before we get into that, I want to just set some context on how we have been looking at getting involved in AI initiatives. So there's some background context. I think Shrey also covered some of it earlier, but basically the agentic economy is growing. It's still early stage, admittedly, but we expect it to grow by 2030 to a 30 trillion, possible 30 trillion market. Right now, a lot of the work happening there is mainly in automating commerce, where you have a buyer and a seller, and the seller is selling something, and the buyer wants to buy that, and most of it is currently happening through the X402 protocol that was started by Coinbase and now is with the Linux Foundation. And one thing to note here is that the average transaction size is very small. It's it's fractions of a dollar, and so you have these microtransactions, but the transaction volume is pretty high. And then these agents are requesting a resource or paying for an API or accessing some paywall content on behalf of the user, and they're working with a merchant and then paying the merchant accordingly for that. So those are the typical use cases. There's another smaller market which is still very early and growing, which is an agent. How can they manage a user or a organization's treasury? So if you want to manage your liquidity across different organizations, or if you're a company that works across multiple geographies and you want to manage your balances in different countries for your different entities. Today, a lot of that is done manually, but there's potential for agents to automate some of this. So that's where the overall what we see. Next slide, please. So now then, how does the XRP play in here, right? Where can we plug in the XRP and use its unique benefits? So this is overall agent stack. At the top you have this authorization layer, which basically says, okay, this is what the agent can do, and this is what you're allowed to do versus what you're not. You're allowed to spend up to $50 on this particular action. So, and there's basically an intent or a mandate. There are a lot of companies playing in this space. There is a protocol from Google called AP2 that operates in this space, and this helps help troubleshoot if something goes wrong. If an agent spent more than what it should have, how do you figure out whose responsibility it was? So that's where this auth layer plays in. Then you have the execution layer, and that has both fiat as well as crypto. So in the crypto space, as Shrey mentioned, you have the X402 protocol where you can use that and have different payment mechanisms to pay for services. And in the fiat world, players there are already working on it. So Stripe has this ECP protocol where they're working with OpenAI, and basically it's makes your existing agent work with the card networks or the banking networks, and basically provides that interface. And at the bottom you have the settlement layer. So in the case here again you have stablecoin as well as fiat. In fiat you have the traditional bank settlement or credit card settlement that Visa or MasterCard does. And in the stablecoin crypto world, you have stable coins being used for settlement over blockchains. So USDC is today used on Base, and RLUSD and XRP could be used on XRPL. So the XRPL's unique advantage is that we can play in that bottom left layer, and how can we make the XRPL really shine here, and try to make sure that it is one of the blockchains that is considered as developers start building these apps and is not an afterthought. Next slide, please. So if you look at the overall agent life cycle, here are the different parts of it. And every agent needs like a unique identity that distinguishes it from another agent. We need to know what this agent is used for, and it should. So the identity is the basic part, just as with other humans as well. And an agent needs a wallet, and you need a way to fund that wallet, and so the agent can use it easily. and in a more autonomous, in its own unique way now, versus a typical mobile or web wallet with a UI with agent. When a human presses a button, an agent could operate differently. The other one is probably one of the most important ones. You need to provide the agent autonomy to execute actions, but it should not go off the rails. There should be strict controls on what the agent can spend, how much it can spend in a certain amount of time, or if there are approval flows where a human needs to be involved. Those need to be there. Then the other part is like, okay, you have all these agents. You might have one agent accessing an API. You might have an agent accessing like a paywall block. But how do you make them discoverable by others? So there should be like, is there like a location where people can find these agents? So that's like agent discovery. Uh, the next part is tech tooling, where how do you agent execute these transactions? The way human submits a blockchain transaction, an agent may submit it differently, and might be a more automated way. So how can we make it easy for agents to send blockchain transactions? And last part is verifying that, hey, the agent did this action, but how can we verify that what it did was right? So those are the different major parts of the agent lifecycle. The XRPL is today, at partially supporting some of these use cases. In some cases, there is a gap. So what we have been trying to do is what are the different most important gaps and how can we close them quickly? Next slide, please. So these are the main three bets that we have been looking at. The first is that how do we make it easy for agents to submit blockchain transactions? So that can be done by building agent-friendly XRPL tooling. We have great tooling today. We have SDKs in JavaScript, Python, in different languages. We have an Explorer, but how can we make it easy for agents to do that? So this is where this is what the starter kit addresses. We have been working on cloud skills that can make it easy for an agent to set up a wallet and make an XRPL payment, and that's what we'll cover in more detail. The other area is like how do we add spending controls for an agent? So there is an open and make it easy that make sure that agents have certain controls within which they work. So there are open source options here that we have been looking at, and there are also companies that build agent specific wallets. So we have been looking into them and seeing how if they could support the XRPL. And the third is more like agent identity, as I mentioned, and KYA, or know your agent. This is still early stage, in my opinion. Even other chains are trying to figure it out for how to do this in an on-chain, or you could have someone trying to build this off-chain. So that's the third area we have just started to look into. And yeah, so this is what we have been looking at. So, and Amrantha will now go into more detail of what we have built in the first phase.
Thanks, Ajit, for setting the context. Hi, everyone. I'm Amaranta Kulkarni. I lead the documentation team at XXX. I'm going to quickly share my screen to just show what's launched. So bear with me for a quick second. All right. Here's XRPL.org. I did want to take you to the new section that's been introduced, and this is agentic transactions. This is part of the first milestone launch for the AI starter kit. What this does is a landing page that talks about what we can do. The goal for this page is to have agents be able to transact autonomously on the XRPL. So it's a starting kit. It has a very basic wallet skill and payment skill to start off with. We're talking about how does the agentic payments work from a workflow perspective. We have some examples. And if you go down further, this actually getting started on and walks you through you as a human, but also useful for an agent to understand what can be built and what they can transact. So there consists of two skills as part of the initial launch, which is the wallet skill and a payment skill. So the wallet skill is where you're performing all of the signing and submit activity, and payment skill is where the transaction is actually being built. We do also have guidelines on how you can track and measure agent behavior, because as a human who is using an agent to transact or monitoring or is responsible for an agent, it is important for us to be able to understand what activities are happening and be able to measure it and track it. So we have some guidelines and best practices on what you could do, whether it is source tags, which you will see as part of the tutorials, or you could add memos and WebSocket monitoring that is available. Additionally, in addition, we also have an X402. We've worked closely with Shrey and T54 team, and this is basically a detailed tutorial on how you can actually perform agentic payments with X402 on the XRP Ledger. The other part that I would like to call attention to is under Dev Tools. We actually have a page for tooling. This talks about all of the tooling and resources that are available to developers and their agents today. So starts with the model context protocol servers. We actually have a docs MCP server via Context 7. This actually, if you are a developer using an agent to build on the XRPL, you'll find this handy, because you could just point your LLM to the docs MCP server, which will help it build with more accuracy. We also talk about the skill files that we just have as part of the AI starter kit, and a couple other site optimizations. Again, as we look at things, the way content is being consumed is changed and is changing drastically. And in order to keep up with what's new, it was important to make XRPL.org accessible to both humans and agents. And as part of that, there were a couple more site optimization activities, like the chatbot works, there's an LLMs.txt. All of the details for each of these are available under the AI tools page, and then actual tutorials and skills are available on the agentic transactions page itself. I really encourage you all to give it a go. It's fairly easy, and if you have any questions or if you run into challenges, we would love to hear your feedback. We want to know how you're making use of some of these tools that are being built, and if you have any feedback that will actually help us as we continue to grow and grow the tooling and improve the developer experience. Your feedback is super important for us. So we're really looking forward to hearing from anyone who gives this a go. Thank you.
And what's more, this documentation is open source, right? So anybody can contribute as well and add detail. So that's a good way to get involved. Starting to get involved is reading through the documentation. If you find something you can improve, that you can help the next person, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Let me see. Do we have any questions on some of our channels? Okay, well, I mean, we feel free to think up your question. We can answer questions after this flow. Let's give the room to our next participant, which is Divgun from the Aquarium, who's gone through the Aquarium residency, is now gone and done other great things, both public and private. Won't get into the details, but welcome to the stage, Divgun. Really happy to have you to tell us more about your builder experience. And
Hello everyone. I'm Divgun. I've been a software developer for the past 12 years, and I'm very excited to share my developer journey in XRPL ecosystem and then what kind of projects I've been working on. Initially, around 2-3 years ago, I joined Dark Oak Studios as team lead, and then we were working on a Unity gaming engine toolkit for XRPL. It's very easy for games to import the Unity SDK and then get started with XRPL transactions, sign transactions, managing an embedded wallet, and then start making listen for transaction updates and etc. So worked there for 1 year, and then I was attending Consensus Toronto, and then I met the XRPL team. Then I got to know about the Aquarium residency. I applied for it, and then I was part of Aquarium DeFi 2 cohort 7, and where I was building swap.show. During building swap.show, it was a DEX aggregator, and the DEX aggregator, it's like it aggregates all the it was aggregating all the DEXs that are there on EVM sidechain and then finding the best part. So I built it for 3 months and then it's live on production. While I was building the DEX aggregator, we were brainstorming in the different sessions we used to have during Aquarium residency. So I got an idea about building like a XRPL vanity address, which is very easy to run in your browser. And to optimize it, I use like service workers where it will spin up multiple threads and it could find good matches if you need like a vanity address. So feel free to try it online and then give me feedback on it. And recently, I've been contributing to Credilit and Rigolda. They are companies. Rigolda is tokenizing gold. So worked with different technologies like MPT tokens, custodial wallets, wallet providers, where tokenizing gold, persisting metadata and transactions on chain, and then it's very easy for people to purchase gold and then have MPT tokens in their wallet, and then it's very easy to redeem gold and then get it delivered at your home. So the Rigolda is live on production, and we are also now optimizing and looking for more feedback on the product. And recently, I contributed to the core protocol, the library XRPL Wasm std-lib. It generates Wasm blob that can easily be executed on chain to give results for the smart escrow feature. And I implemented the NFT implementation for the library. So that was a good experience working with the Ripple team, Mayuka, and all. So yeah. Moving on, I wanted to quickly discuss a couple of amendments that I keep looking for and then find ways to contribute. Recently, the WASM std-lib, it's still developers are working on it, and everything is open source. So the smart escrow is currently in pre-vote, and then if you'd like to contribute to the Rust SDK, feel free to check it out. And then the documentation is very nice, and it's very easy to get started on it. I'm also very excited about the lending protocol and single asset bots that are currently in voting. I'm also tweaking with them and then playing. Also, a good shout out to XRPL Commons team for launching their really nice dev tooling and playgrounds that makes very easy to like play around with the amendments that are in voting and are in development. Moving on to the final step, what I'm currently working on. I'm working on a XRPL X402 gateway, where the main goal for this project, I'm building it for the Waves, Make Waves initiative that's going on and the hackathon. My main goal is with that having like a proper revenue dashboards for clients and for developers who are like making these metered API calls. And then it's making life easier for developers or like service providers to track properly that, okay, these are all the wallets that are using have subscriptions for the API calls, how many revenue is coming in, what is the usage, and what are all the API calls that are happening, and how many rejections are there for X402 and etc. I'm also adding some more features like stablecoin, MPT, multipurpose token settlement, and then adding more features to the gateway. And I will be building it in public and seeing how the response is from the XRPL community. So very excited about sharing all these updates.
Wow, really, really, really cool. If we want to get in touch with you, Deepgun, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
I'm on Twitter. It's Devgun, and I'll share it on the chat, my X handle.
Okay, great. A brave Twitter user. Awesome. All right. Up next, Tushar Parde from XRPL Commons will share his journey building upgrading the learning portal and implementing a new piece of technology that we've been incubating in-house. And so I'll let you unveil the tool, Tushar. To you.
I'll first start with the one thing we were building, which is quite exciting, and I think someone else also mentioned that we are lacking this in ecosystem. So XRPL Commons, we have been building XRP Identity, which, as it says, it's one account for the whole ecosystem. So currently, the problem is essentially you go to many apps like XRPL Commons, Glow, Hackathon, or let's say XRP Cafe. All the apps have their own accounts. So basically, you have to sign at least 3 to 4 times to use another app. Now, what we are building is basically you have one single account which can be used everywhere in the whole ecosystem. Now, the good thing about the account is like you just have to sign in using your Google account, and it's going to be as simple as it can be. So let me just use this new account that I just created, and I'll just name Sharp and register a passkey. And there you go. Now all my details that are in XRP can be integrated directly. So let's say I need to connect a wallet with it. So I'll just use maybe Gem Wallet, and that's it. It's connected. Now, if I'm using this on Glow or Hackathon, I can just simply connect my identity. Let's say just hackathons, for example. So I just sign in, and there you go. As simple as that. Only it took me maybe few few seconds to set up everything. Now this can be used essentially for any of the apps. Everything is going to be open source, and we're going to be asking people like XRP Cafe or maybe the other third-party providers to also integrate this identity on their systems, so users can directly connect everything in one single app and use it everywhere. So this is the first thing we have been building. And the second thing is supporting the whole ecosystem. So as you might know that Ripple has this learning platform that they have been building. Now we're gonna be managing it. So first thing that we did, we completely migrated their code to newer architecture. So this whole code is been written in an older language, I'll say. I won't go which language because a lot of people might not know. So anyway, this was an older language, and now we have migrated to a newer one, which is much more faster, almost 2 times faster than the previous one. And yeah, all the things are similar. Now good thing about it is like we have integrated identity into it, so you can just log in using your identity, and basically now you can save all your progress within, let's say I do this and go down, take a quiz. I'm not gonna finish it, and that's it. See my progress. Now I can see my progress, and if I go back to the courses, now our progress is saved within my identity itself. Now the good thing about identity is like, let's say I did something in this particular learning portal. Now there is another app who wants to access this information. They can also do that through identity. So identity basically is not just the identity of the whole ecosystem, but also it's a connection between different apps. So you can essentially use identity to get the data from one app to another. So yeah, that's the both things we are working on. And now I'm thinking about something is like we can also create agentic identities which can be used with X402 or something else as well. Yeah, I'll leave the stage to Luke.
Very cool. Thank you for that presentation, Tushar. This is something we've been working on for a number of months now. It's based on the OpenID protocol. Essentially, you can think of it as like a single sign-on, but also having the ability to share information. And of course, it's all opt-in and permissioned, and yeah. So we think it's a nice way to make it easier to move across different apps in the ecosystem. Certainly, it helps for our own apps.
The one thing I love about it is like I can connect my wallet into it, and I don't have to have multiple things like connected everywhere. I don't have to go multiple platforms and then do the same thing again and again.
Yeah, and to be clear, it's completely optional, completely opt-in. It's just another way of the same way you would integrate Google as a login mechanism. You can integrate XRP identity. It doesn't. The data never leaves the apps. It just creates the pipes and the connection so that one app can use data from another app, fully authorized, and the data never goes into any of our servers or anything like that. It's just completely passive.
Yeah, we are not storing any of your seeds or data. It's just we are providing the layer for you to connect one thing to the other.
So anyway, we'll share more details as time goes by. We're integrating this in all of our ecosystem apps, and we'll of course make this. It's going to be an open source project and open to the rest of the community if they choose to integrate with this. But we think it can facilitate users' lives. So looking forward to that. All right. Well, I think that sort of completes all the updates from our speakers so far. I'm going to check in quickly with the team to see if there's any open questions on the different chats and systems we have. I mean, I wanted to take advantage of all this expertise around agentic flows here, perhaps to ask a first question, which is, Ajit talked about how agentic payments, agentic flows were going to be often very small payments, micro payments. Potentially, that means a lot of payments. And of course, we're not there yet in terms of the volume and all of that, but that could potentially create a lot of volume on chain. And so I'm sort of curious and potentially very rapidly a lot of volume on chain. And so I'm maybe curious to ask some of the experts here, how do you think about how these solutions scale with, potentially many more users than humans, agents, bots taking the stage there. What do you guys think? Ajit, is this something you've talked about? You've thought about?
I know there are many in the community who are looking at XRPL's scalability itself, right? And how do we make the XRPL scalable to support more accounts and more transactions? So that is one aspect that I know there is a lot of work happening. The other area we can look at is, as you know, there's a feature in the XRPL called pay channels, which has been there for some time, but isn't that actively used? So pay channels is quick intro is a way similar. Let me give you an analogy. It's similar to like when you go to a bar and you open a tab that, hey, I'm authorizing you to use up to say $50, and after that I buy drinks against that up to $50. So and I do one transaction at the end where I pay for $50. So on the XRP there exists a feature called pay channels where you can make a one-time authorization that you're authorized to spend up to say whatever $50, but every single transaction after that doesn't have to go on chain. That happens off chain, and at the end you settle one transaction on chain. So today pay channels is one way to help that scalability. The Stripe MPP protocol also has what's called like a streaming payments mode where you don't have to settle every single transaction. You can have these authorizations happen off chain and then have one transaction on chain. So that's another way to help with scalability of these micropayments where you have just one on-chain transaction at the end rather than every transaction going on-chain.
That's a very good answer, actually, because it answers with a primitive that already exists on chain. I thought we might discuss, off chain, I don't know, or layer twos or various issues like that. But that's a very good answer. Thank you, Ajit, for that.
There is one. So right now, Pay Channels only supports XRP. It doesn't support IOUs or MPTs.
Sure.
But I know Dennis had created a PR for it, and yeah, we are looking at looking at that PR, reviewing it, and see if we can get it added to a future Ripple D release.
Cool. Thanks very much for that. Anybody else want to comment on that specific question in the group? I'll take another question then from the audience. What were the challenges faced while building XRP identity? I'll be relatively brief. Honestly, I think we built it with good benchmarks in mind. We had there's a lot of OIDC implementations out there. So I think from that point of view, that got us pretty far pretty quickly, getting the whole identity layer, the whole authorization layer set. And then where we did struggle a little bit was what was sort of the best data model to support cross app communication. Because it's one thing to be able to one click sign on, great, I've essentially shared my email and my name with a new app. It's another thing to allow cross app communication channels in a way that is both easy to reason about and secure and gives you like the right authorizations. And we certainly didn't want to be storing all of this data in a centralized way. So we wanted the data to still stay on the original app, and then that data can be shared ad hoc via the identity layer. So that was, I think, the most challenging part of the challenge. Another question from the audience: would agentic layers help provision wallets for users and create trust lines? Would that help with the sort of we have this, I would say, specific flow in the XRPL that requires, setting trust lines before you can approve a payment, and would that help? So I guess to some extent it would.
Hey, Luke.
Hi, Amarantha.
I can take that question. So I think if I understand the question, it is basically asking if these agentic layers that we are building as part of like the AI starter kit, would that help provision wallets for users and create trust lines? That is, technically, they should be able to do it today with using their own, agents. But as part of our next iteration with the tooling, we are going to be testing out the whole trust lines workflow, and once we are once it passes our quality bar and we feel comfortable and there's enough guardrails in place, we will be updating it on the tooling. So that is yes, it should be possible even today because there's enough documentation, enough the way the source code has been laid out, it is possible for agents to figure this out. But if you're looking for a skill, the payment skill might do it. The wallet skill and the payment skill combination might do it, but we haven't tested that workflow. That's actually on the roadmap for us to work on for the next iteration. I hope that answers.
Thank you for that great answer. Wonderful. Another question, this is perhaps a bit more for the Ripple team to some extent. When will the smart escrows be released? Do you have any updates on the smart escrows? Ajit, perhaps?
Yeah. So at this point, we are looking at releasing smart escrows in like the Q3 release. I know there is a next release coming up, but the release after that. And that's because a lot of the testing, QA testing, performance testing efforts have been focused on testing the other features that are coming up in the next release. So because of that, smart escrows kind of, has been behind. Just mainly waiting for testing resources and performance testing, etc. The testing effort on that would be relatively larger because since we're adding a brand new virtual machine and adding all this new plumbing, we have to make sure that works well. That's why it's mainly because of testing resource availability.
And maybe, I mean, in the same vein, we have another question about batch transaction, which was delayed earlier this year. Are there any plans to reinstate that amendment and put it to the vote this year that you know of, that you can share? Batch transactions?
I don't know if I know we were also looking at bugs there, but yeah, I don't know the details side, but I can get back to you on that, Luke.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. So we'll close down the meeting. We're almost at time. Thank you everyone for following the meeting. It's been our first sort of technical town hall, very specialized town hall. We might have other specialized town halls in the future. If you like this format, let us know. If you think of ways to improve the format, we're open for that. Thank you everyone for listening in. Have a great day, and see you next time.